Have you ever wondered if your own mind might be concealing something fundamental from you? Consider that the very beliefs you have always taken as the granite foundation of your personality may, in fact, be nothing more than an artfully woven mirage. You are about to plunge into the labyrinths of your own consciousness, a journey that promises to completely change your perception of both yourself and the reality around you. Be prepared for insights that will compel you to re-evaluate everything you thought you knew about the workings of your mind. Have you ever questioned the true origin of your ideas and judgments? Most of us have grown accustomed to the idea that we are the absolute masters in the kingdom of our consciousness, believing that every thought, every sudden insight, is born solely of our own will. However, the reality proves to be far more multifaceted and astonishing. Thoughts announce themselves spontaneously, as if arising from a void, and we merely, by inertia, place the label mine on them. Why has it come to be this way? Perhaps it is a consequence of being taught from an early age to consider our thoughts as something sacred and inseparable from ourself. But in truth, thoughts are more like random fellow travelers. They appear in our field of awareness, stay for a while, and then depart, making way for others. It is crucial to realize that they are not your essence and are not under your total control. Let us delve deeper into the very nature of thought. Have you ever grappled with a paradox, trying to stop your inner dialogue by sheer force of will? The more earnestly you desire mental silence, the more intrusive and loud this stream of consciousness becomes. And here is why: thoughts are not the fruit of a deliberate effort, but rather a spontaneous phenomenon, much like breathing. Accepting this fact opens the door to a profound insight: your personality is not equal to your thoughts. You are the observing consciousness that witnesses their arrival and departure. Such a shift in worldview can radically transform one's life. By ceasing to identify with fleeting ideas, a person gains inner space, a stronghold for contemplation, for making considered decisions, and for manifesting their true self. The feeling of being trapped in a cage of continuous mental noise disappears. In its place comes the understanding that behind the veil of mental chatter lies an unshakable, calm presence. And that presence is you. Let us now consider a thesis that can shake established views on thinking. Humans have never been the true creators of their thoughts in the conventional sense. Thoughts are not so much unique creations of our mind as they are reflections of the external world, shaped by accumulated experience, cultural environment, absorbed information, and interactions with other people. The human mind can be likened to a highly sensitive resonator that captures and transforms the vibrations of the surrounding world into what we have come to call our personal thoughts. But if these are merely echoes of external stimuli, a logical question arises: who, then, is the true thinker? This puzzle has occupied the greatest minds for centuries, from philosophers to spiritual teachers, giving rise to countless theories. Some suggest that the mind is merely a receiver, tuning into specific informational frequencies floating in the noosphere. Others lean toward the idea that thinking is a collective phenomenon, a shared field of consciousness to which each of us is connected and to which we contribute. Contemplating this concept brings liberation from the oppressive burden of responsibility to figure everything out and find universal answers. A clear understanding emerges: thoughts are not something to be desperately tamed or taken too much to heart. They are akin to clouds drifting across the sky, ever-changing, impermanent, and, ultimately, devoid of their own power. And when a person stops clinging to them, they open the door to a deeper, intuitive intelligence that lies far beyond ordinary thinking. It is important to recognize that the mind is, first and foremost, a survival mechanism. Its main task is not to grant us bliss and peace, but to ensure our safety and preserve our life. For millennia, our species' ability to survive has directly depended on the skill to foresee danger, react instantly to challenges, and calculate potential risks. The reason the human mind is so prone to overthinking and anxiety lies in its evolutionary programming to seek and neutralize threats, even if they do not actually exist. The irony, however, is that in modern realities, this very same mechanism often becomes not the solution, but a source of additional stress. Instead of protecting us from real predators, it causes us to agonize over approaching deadlines, the need for social approval, or hypothetical but improbable future scenarios. This can be compared to a high-tech security system that raises an alarm over a slightly burnt piece of toast. Recognizing this characteristic allows one to cease the senseless war with one's own mind and begin to treat it with understanding. The mind is not an enemy, but merely an instrument that works most productively under the careful guidance of awareness. When a person stops allowing the mind to dictate terms unchallenged, they regain control over their life. There is a transition from the role of a passive listener to a mental radio to that of an active observer, who decides which thoughts to pay attention to and which to let pass by. The question of who we are, if not our thoughts, lies at the very core of the path of self-knowledge. The answer is both simple and incredibly profound: we are the observers. We are the consciousness that is aware of thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations. We are the silent witnesses who contemplate the endless play of the mind without becoming its direct participants. Imagine a vast movie theater where a dynamic film unfolds on the screen: thrilling events, tense dialogues, loud sound effects. In this analogy, you are not the film itself, nor the screen on which it is projected. You are the spectator, sitting calmly in a comfortable chair and observing what is happening. This is the essence of taking the observer's position in relation to your own thoughts. There is no need to immerse yourself in every role or react emotionally to every scene. Instead, one can maintain a healthy distance and inner peace, simply allowing events to unfold. Realizing this innate ability brings an unparalleled sense of liberation. It allows you to step back from the turmoil of the mind and see its true nature as a succession of fleeting images and changing stories. It is in this space of pure observation that your true I is discovered, an essence untouched by the endless chatter of the mind, free from its judgments, and immersed in a state of serene tranquility. Distancing yourself from the incessant stream of thought does not mean you should ignore or suppress it. Rather, it is the art of seeing thoughts for what they truly are: ephemeral, constantly changing, and often having no relation to the reality of the present moment. In the vast majority of cases, our thoughts are nothing more than background noise, consisting of echoes of past experiences or anxious fantasies about the future. They divert our attention from the here and now, the only time in which true life unfolds. To achieve this mental independence, one should start by practicing mindful observation of one's thoughts, while avoiding any judgment. When a particular thought arises, one should simply note its appearance without labeling it good or bad. It is important not to try to chase it away or cling to it, but to allow it to arise freely and disappear just as freely, like an autumn leaf drifting on a river's current. This method, often called the practice of mindfulness, gradually builds a distance between your personality and your thoughts, bestowing a deep sense of freedom. As you deepen this practice, you come to understand that thoughts are just a tiny fraction of your all-encompassing life experience. They are not an exhaustive picture of reality and do not define your essence, unless you yourself grant them that power. By letting go of excessive attachment to this continuous stream, you reclaim your right to the present moment, to inner silence, and to your personal power. Silence is something much more than the mere absence of external sounds. It is a kind of portal to a deeper level of self-awareness, a bridge thrown from mental noise to the true essence of your personality. Consider, when was the last time you allowed yourself to truly immerse in absolute silence, free from external stimuli, without the slightest desire to reach for your smartphone or start another internal monologue? In our age of total digital connectivity and information overload, genuine silence has become an extremely rare and precious resource, holding incredible potential for transformation. By immersing oneself in the embrace of silence, one gains a unique ability to feel the space that separates one's thoughts, a space filled not with emptiness, but with pure awareness. It is in these intervals that access to intuitive wisdom and clarity opens up, which are most often buried under the avalanche of everyday thinking. Silence offers a chance to hear not the chaotic chorus of thoughts, but the quiet voice of your inner I. This is why moments of deep solitude, whether contemplating a sunset over the ocean or taking a leisurely walk through a sleeping forest, have such a healing and calming effect on us. The essence is not so much in our surroundings, but in the inner silence that these surroundings awaken in the depths of our soul. Integrating the practice of silence into your daily life is much simpler than it may seem. It is enough to start by setting aside just 5 minutes a day to simply be in the present moment. After finding a comfortable position, closing your eyes, and letting go of all pressing matters, you should direct your attention to the sensations in your body, the rhythm of your breathing, and the subtle background of the present. Thoughts will undoubtedly arise, this is a natural process, and there is no need to fight it. You should allow them to float by, like clouds in a summer sky. The goal is not to stop the thought conveyor belt, but to stop getting involved in it, maintaining the position of an impartial observer. Over time, these short 5-minute sessions can naturally lengthen, and the sense of serenity they bring can begin to permeate the other hours of your day. As you cultivate this habit of silence, you may discover something astonishing, a transformation in the way you interact with the world. You will become less susceptible to impulsive reactions and more mindful in your actions. Your conversations with people will gain new depth, as the restless desire to fill pauses with meaningless words disappears. Decisions will begin to be made with greater ease, as they will be based on inner clarity rather than a chaotic tangle of thoughts. Silence does not distance you from life, on the contrary, it connects you with it on such a deep level that you may not have even suspected. It is important to realize that the thoughts that seem entirely our own are, in fact, the product of our upbringing, cultural codes, education, and entire life experience. From our earliest years, we are taught to think in certain patterns, explained what is valuable, what to fear, and how to correctly perceive the world. And although such programming is undoubtedly useful for adaptation and survival in society, it often becomes a cage that limits the unfolding of our true potential. But there is good news: you are not doomed to remain forever within the confines of this programming. You possess the ability to free yourself from imposed attitudes. The first step on this path to freedom is deep awareness. You need to start listening attentively to the stream of your own thoughts and identify those beliefs that, like a broken record, play in your head day after day. Ask yourself, are you constantly telling yourself that you are not good enough for something? That success requires an exhausting struggle? Or that your life path must strictly follow a once-charted plan? It is crucial to understand that these thoughts are nothing more than stories you once learned, but which do not have to be your reality. The time has come to subject them to careful analysis. Treat them with doubt, investigate them. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Does it truly reflect objective reality? And, most importantly, does it serve my well-being and development? As you unearth the roots of your mental programming, you will likely encounter internal resistance. The mind is conservative by nature and dislikes change. It clings to the familiar and known, even if that familiar causes suffering. However, breaking free from the shackles of old thinking is not a battle with oneself, but rather a process of deep understanding and acceptance. In this process, journaling can be a powerful tool. Write down your limiting beliefs and trace their origins, like a detective unraveling a complex case. Often you will find that the roots of these beliefs go back to distant childhood, to a casually spoken phrase, or to absorbed social norms that have long ceased to correspond with who you are today. It is worth remembering that liberation is not a one-time act, but a gradual, step-by-step process that requires patience and self-compassion. It is a process of replacing outdated, limiting programs with new, inspiring, and empowering ones. For example, instead of repeating to yourself, "I'm not smart enough to handle this," try replacing this thought with a new attitude: "I am capable of learning, growing, and developing." At first glance, these changes may seem insignificant, but over time they lead to a radical restructuring of your worldview and self-perception. Imagine a life free from the fear of failure and self-doubt, a life where you yourself are the architect of your path, guided not by others' prescriptions, but by what deeply resonates with your true essence. This freedom is not some unattainable dream, but your inalienable birthright. The human mind has an insatiable thirst for control over everything that surrounds it. We make detailed plans, develop complex multi-step strategies, and indulge in endless anxieties, naively believing that if we think hard enough about everything, we can mold the future to our exact desires. However, life is by its nature unpredictable and full of surprises, and no amount of mental effort can change that. Control is largely an illusion, and desperately clinging to it inevitably leads only to stress, frustration, and disappointment. Think for a moment, how often have your most well-thought-out plans materialized exactly as you imagined them? It has probably happened very rarely, if at all. Life flows according to its own, incomprehensible laws, and trying to force it into the rigid framework of our expectations is like trying to stop a mighty river with your bare hands. The more you resist the current, the more strength and energy you lose. The secret to true mastery of life lies in the ability to release excessive attachment to specific outcomes while remaining fully engaged in the process itself. Letting go does not mean surrendering to circumstances or falling into apathy. Rather, it is a call to focus your attention on the few things that are truly under our influence: our own actions, the quality of our thoughts, and our conscious presence in the current moment. Let's imagine a situation: you are preparing for an important public speech. Naturally, you strive to rehearse your speech as well as possible, putting maximum effort into preparing the slides and material. However, the audience's reaction is a factor that is beyond your control. Instead of tormenting yourself with doubts and endlessly replaying possible scenarios in your head, it is much wiser to accept the fact that you have done everything in your power and allow events to unfold naturally. When a person frees themselves from the illusion of omnipotent control, they gain an incredible sense of lightness and freedom. They stop wasting their life energy fighting the inevitable and direct it toward what truly matters. Paradoxically, it is this approach that often leads to the best results. For in this case, a person acts not from fear and desperation, but from a state of inner confidence and flow. Trusting the natural course of events does not mean abdicating all responsibility. It means learning to dance with life in harmony, rather than engaging in an exhausting battle with it. And it is in this harmony that one finds the deep peace of mind that no control, no matter how rigid and total, can provide. In the deepest recesses of our consciousness, behind the dense veil of the ceaseless stream of thoughts, lies a silent, pure presence, our inner observer. This observer is not just a collection of thoughts or emotions, it is something immeasurably greater than our personality itself. It is the silent witness that calmly gazes upon the entire kaleidoscope of our inner experiences, it is the unshakable awareness that resides beyond the ever-changing and restless mind. Establishing a connection with this inner observer can completely transform a person's life. It grants the ability to step back from one's own thoughts and see their true nature as fleeting mental phenomena, rather than as immutable, absolute truths. This new perspective opens up incredible possibilities for us. Instead of being a prisoner of every random emotion or anxious thought, the chance arises to observe them with detached wisdom and crystal clarity. To awaken this inner observer, it is necessary to cultivate the skill of mindfulness throughout the day. It is important to find moments to pause, stop, and simply observe your thoughts, without any judgment or criticism. One should pay attention to their recurring patterns, the stories they tell, and how they affect your emotional state and actions. Gradually, with practice, a distinct gap, a space between you, the observer, and your thoughts, will begin to appear. It is in this gap that true freedom lies. The inner observer then appears not just as a philosophical concept, but as a real, living experience, capable of transforming the very perception of reality. Establishing a strong connection with this inner authority opens one's eyes to the illusory nature of thoughts, which are no longer perceived as the essence of one's personality. They become like light clouds gliding across the vast sky of your consciousness, while you are that sky itself, always remaining imperturbable and spacious. This realization brings a profound sense of peace and unconditional self-acceptance. As this connection with the inner observer strengthens, life's ups and downs lose their power to throw you off balance. Problems, of course, continue to arise on the path of life, but they no longer possess the all-consuming force they once had. You acquire the ability to meet any challenges with dignity and composure, drawing confidence from the inviolability of your inner essence, which is invulnerable to the chaotic whirlwinds of the mind. The inner observer becomes your reliable anchor in the stormy ocean of life, tirelessly reminding you of your wholeness and self-sufficiency, regardless of any external circumstances. Life beyond the mind does not at all imply the renunciation of thinking as such. It implies transcending its tyranny and its limiting frameworks. It is about learning to use the mind as an effective tool when it is truly necessary, and to remain in a state of pure, conscious presence the rest of the time. This harmonious balance is the key to achieving a full, rich, and truly free life. When a person dares to step outside the narrow confines of their mind, they cease to be a slave to their own thoughts and gain true freedom of self-expression. Instead of endlessly replaying past mistakes or worrying about a hazy future, they learn to focus completely on the present moment, on the here and now. This total presence in the current reality gives birth to a sense of vitality and vividness that cannot be experienced through mere contemplation. Imagine waking up every morning with a clear, untroubled consciousness and an open heart. Life's challenges are perceived not with fear and rejection, but with lively curiosity and unwavering confidence in your abilities. You learn to listen attentively to those around you, without interrupting them with your own thoughts, to respond thoughtfully, and to find moments of genuine joy even in the simplest, most ordinary things. This is the whole charm and beauty of existence beyond the undivided rule of the mind. Achieving such a state is not a straight and smooth path, but rather a process that requires patience, regular practice, and kindness towards oneself. However, with each new step on this path, you will feel increasingly free, light, and deeply connected to the world around you. Life beyond the mind is not an escape from reality, but, on the contrary, a deeper, more meaningful, and richer experience of it. As you advance on this path, you discover the greatest gift, the realization that you are not just a stream of thoughts, but the very consciousness that observes them, the very silence that remains when the mind finally falls quiet. It is in this silence that your true, unchanging essence is hidden. In conclusion, I want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who took the time for this reflection. If the material presented resonated with you or seemed valuable, I encourage you to show your support with a like and to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future publications. Additionally, I would be grateful if you would share this video with those to whom it might be useful or interesting. I deeply value feedback and invite you to share your thoughts, experiences, and impressions in the comments.